Hello everyone, Pallytime here. Welcome back to one of my Overwatch videos. I am joined once again by Andrew Franklin Wall himself.
That's me, the president of the Nexus.
Who has obviously held me at gunpoint, threatened my job in every way possible, and is forcing me to make this video.
Oh man, I couldn't believe those comments on the previous videos. Like, what kind of monster would I be to force you to be on the channel? But seriously, I am holding your job over your head, so...
Seriously, guys.
Yeah.
Watch out. I might be on the street next week begging for money. Today's video, we are going to be talking about Lucio, who, when we went to the Blizzard headquarters to play for however many hours we did, he was the brand new hotness to be announced. I played him quite a bit. I believe AWOL tried him a little, right?
I tried him out a little bit, but there was a Lucio on my team supporting me pretty much every game. So,
yeah, mine too.
Yeah, so that actually changed things quite a bit. And we could talk a bit about how it feels to be supported by him, right?
For sure. But before we get into that, we need to talk about what he does. His main weapon is called the sonic amplifier. It shoots out this, it shoots out sound waves that look like flubber almost. That would be the only way I could describe it.
Yeah.
He has an ability called Crossfade, which allows him to switch between two distinct songs. He's always playing one of these songs. One of these is either focused on healing, so it's like a heal over time to everyone around him, or a speed boost to everyone around him. He can then use another ability to amp that up. It's called Amp It Up, and it basically just makes the effect bigger and has a bit of a cooldown. So you'll run faster or you will regenerate more health. And then his ultimate ability is called Sound Barrier. Everyone that was there called it the Bro Shield.
Bro Shield.
It's such a better name. Like, just in every way.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a better name. And essentially, it's just a gigantic barrier of shielding around each hero in range. That was able to win quite a few team fights for my team when we were using it. But what do you think of his kit in general?
I think that he is a welcome addition to the roster. And, you know, when they were talking about the logic behind Lucio in the kind of green room, if you will, before we went to go play, you know, there was this big hole in terms of abilities and the meta, if you will, that was forming within their internal testing with supports. And the big solution, or the big problem that Lucio solves, is that folks were kind of pigeonholed into being forced to pick Symmetra as a support, simply because Symmetra's ultimate teleport allowed people to get back in the fight faster, and that was the only support ability that did that directly, outside of Resurrection from Mercy. So the fact that you have this movement ability here on Crossfade that you can amp up with Lucio adds more movement options to get you back in the fight, and considering that all of the maps right now are objective based, this was just a really welcome addition to the roster, and it felt like the support roster was a far more complete with Lucio being added.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It felt a lot more rounded, because there are several heroes that can heal. But like you said, like, when you die in Overwatch, basically your punishment is that you have to wait and then walk back to the action.
Yep.
And I know for sure when we had a Lucio on our team, like, I was back in that action a lot faster. But first things first, I would like to talk about Crossfade, because I know a lot of people were turned off by the idea. They even clarified this when they were explaining, you know, his abilities to us in that green room. Mm-hmm. So he's playing two songs at all times.
And these are original tracks that they composed specifically for the game.
Yeah, they are. I believe they had a full soundtrack or a full album released by Lucio, like on SoundCloud or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can download the songs, both the songs, and just listen to them normally. And it will play the entire track in-game when you switch between the two, which is actually a really nice audio cue for you, so you don't even have to look at the visual cues, and it just kind of kicks in. And when your audio is off, and you're looking at just visuals, like when I was editing the videos about Lucio, I started hearing the songs in my mind when I saw him switching between the two, so I thought it was really useful, rather than just a SFX when an ability starts.
I agree. I thought it was useful too, but some people were concerned, like, if I don't like the song, I don't want to hear it all the time. And in the preview video for Lucio, it's quite loud. Like, it's a very predominant sound.
Yeah.
While we were playing, I mean, it was noticeable, but it wasn't overpowering in the slightest. I mean, you could hear everything else that was going on, no problem. I had absolutely no issues with it. It's just kind of ambient noise. I mean, you just get used to hearing it. It kind of fades into the background. One of the things I thought was cool was having 2 Lucios on our team. I know Moxness was on my team a lot, and he was playing Lucio nearly every single game. And when Jengist was taking my Hanzo away from me, I would typically jump into the support role as well. And we went into a match, both of us as Hanzo, but as Lucio, but we were both playing different songs. So Moxness would always have the speed one up, and I would always have the healing one up. And it just lent itself to, like, it just felt so overpowered, honestly. It just felt like we could do whatever we wanted to, and then all of a sudden, if it got a little too icy, we would bro shield, and we would all be just fine. Like,
yeah,
nothing bad could possibly happen.
I mean, everybody moving super fast around you and getting tons of heals with each of you individually amping it up is massive. And one thing to note, though, is you can't say double stack to healing.
Correct.
Or double stack to movement. Now, you can double stack it if, say, one of you dies, there's always one in place, but it doesn't double the effects. And that's obviously very welcome. Especially on the movement speed side, that would be ridiculous how fast you would move back into the fight. But I think double Lucio is probably the most viable double support possible right now. I think double Zenyatta, double Mercy, double Symmetra isn't going to have anywhere near the effect that a double Lucio would.
I actually agree with you there. I had to think
actually
about that
agree. Okay.
I would have to think about. I was like, no, there has to be like something else that makes sense. But no, I mean, 2 Zenyatas are obviously going to have. There's a hole there. You know, they don't quite live up in another area that another support would.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the double Lucios, they balance each other out. It's like a yin and yang thing. Actually, I like it. I like it.
And also, yeah, with the crossfade too, it keeps the variety of gameplay up as you're moving along. So you're not just activating a flat ability that's on a cooldown, you're constantly shifting between those 2 modes as a support. And so for folks that are a bit more attention deficit and they like to have more actions to take as a support, like they want to try out support, but they want to have a bit more excitement with their support, that's going to add to that. Not to mention, you didn't mention earlier the rocket skates that he has. And
I was just about to bring that up.
Got
like
it. Go ahead, man.
His mobility is insane. I forgot to mention it. He is on skates the whole time. They look like I don't remember the name of the game. What's the name of the game where you're going around on skates spray painting everything?
Jet Set Radio?
Yes, it looks exactly like Jet Set Radio, but like with Tron thrown into it as well.
Yeah.
He can use these skates to like wall run, basically. You do a little bit of an arc when you go across a wall, and if you were in a situation that was applicable for it, you could jump from side to side on the wall and continue to traverse an area. His mobility is crazy. We were defending on a map, and one of the lead game developers was playing Hanzo on the other team, on AWOL's team versus me, and I was set up as Hanzo, and I was sniping, I was doing my thing, and all of a sudden there's a Lucio behind me. And I was watching all the entrances. I couldn't figure out how he got there. Basically, he was using Crossfade with the speed and then amping it up and wall running around the outside of the map, out of bounds. If he messed up, his character would have died.
Just like fall into the abyss.
He would have just dropped off the face of the earth. But he was able to use this mobility to traverse the map in a way that, I mean, no other character could go around the map on that side. And he was basically using that to draw the attention of the back line so his team could push in the front even harder. And I have to say, it was pretty cool. I was pretty impressed by it.
That's totally not fair, though. I mean, these guys, like, literally design these maps and program them from scratch, so they're like, when they put these buildings in place, they're like, yeah, I could use Lucio and slide around from behind. But that's going to add a lot of variety.
While they're rubbing their beard evilly, yes, I could do this.
But how many of the other supports in the game have the ability to flank like that? And when you think about it, none of them really do. Zenyatta potentially could do that, but the others have more of a pure traditional backline type of role, and that gives Lucio that much more variety.
You know, on his main gun, too, we didn't talk about this either. He has his normal pulse shots, which is like a 3 or 4 burst thing, and then he reloads. Or he has to wait. Then on his right click, he also has a knockback. I played a few games as Hanzo. I would say maybe 6. So, you know, he was one of my most played characters. But I did not find myself using that knockback very much. Were you ever hit with it?
I was hit by the knockback. Jeff Kaplan knocked me off the edge. So there are a couple circumstances where if you're on the edge, you can be knocked back and knocked off the edge. That's really useful for Lucio. And he can also use that to knock back a tank. So, you know, as Lucio, you can be more towards the front lines, or like you're saying, flanking, and have more of a variable positioning as a support. And if a tank like Winston, for example, gets in your face, or a Reinhardt ends up charging in with his ability, you can, or even Zarya for that matter, you can knock them back and then reposition your team by crossfading back to move speed. So it does give him more of like defensive utility, but it can also be used offensively. But I think that the offensive usage, like knocking people off the edge, is gonna be very situational.
Extremely situational.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a scenario where maybe if a Mercy was healing someone, you could hop in there and knock the Mercy back, but then Mercy has her shift mechanic where she can just reattach to someone, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't even really be that viable in that scenario. Yeah, I think its main use is just going to be, hey, you're standing next to a ledge and that's funny to me. Goodbye. You know? Indeed. Or I guess if someone's on the high ground, you could look at it like that. There were several buildings that we could climb. Depending on your character, like as Hanzo, I could flank the enemy team by climbing over this wall. I suppose you can knock people off that wall.
You can, and also there's other usages like when you're escorting payload and a melee character is getting close to the payload, you can knock them away from the payload, placing an enemy within range of like a Bastion or Triburan turret or something of that variety. And there's also the usage of melee flanking characters like Reaper. If Reaper comes up on you or your squishies, you can knock Reaper back and move out of positioning so you don't get insta-vaporized. And
are you able to move a Bastion that is sieged up?
I don't think you can move a Bastion that's sieged up, no. Because that would be really awesome, right? Yeah. He's got his great position, like he's on the top of a ledge, knock him down on the ground, he's dead. I don't think it works like that, but I didn't test it personally.
I didn't test it either. I was thinking, you know, the Bastions can siege up on top of the payload and move with the payload. You know, with that stupid Winston shield on top of that, keeping everything safe. Oh, God, that's crazy.
It is crazy
If Lucio could go up and disrupt that, I could definitely see that as being extremely powerful.
Yeah, it definitely could be powerful. And the thing that maybe more difficult than anything else with Lucio is proper usage of Bro Shield. And that's one thing that, or sound barrier, that's one thing I'm concerned about if there's not like built-in voice comms in the game. Doing sound barrier, you need to have your allies gathered on you. So there needs to be some way in-game to indicate that allies need to gather on you because your ultimate's up for that ultimate to be effective. A lot of the other support ultimates don't require that. Resurrection, nobody needs to be next to you. Teleporter, you just throw that bad boy down. Zenyatta ultimate, you can just use that in the heat of battle and just move towards your allies, right? To keep yourself in range. Bro Shield, out of all the support ultimates, requires the most coordination. And what are your thoughts on that?
I never thought about it that way. I mean, if
God,
you're
I'm
playing,
so smart that I thought about that and you didn't.
Oh man,
I'm so smart.
Good. I think, you know, once the community gets used to, oh, Lucio is all about clumping up, you know, that'll help alleviate some of the problems.
Yeah, gather on Lucio. Yeah.
When you're first starting out, it's going to be a big issue. We should also bring up the fact that, you know, we said that sound barrier, okay, let's call it Bro Shield from here on out because it's a better name. Bro Shield is a shield, right? We keep referring to it as a shield. We should probably state that it's damn near immunity when that shit gets cast. Like, you have a ton of shields. Now, they do deteriorate over time, like, pretty quick. But like the second that gets cast, it doesn't matter what is hitting you. It could be like a nuke going off in the area, and you can be like, yeah, what was that?
Yeah, it's about, and the numbers change every time they're going to rebuild it, I'm sure. But it's at least 1,000 essentially bonus HP on top of whatever bonuses you're at that given time. So it's like everybody gets to like Winston Berserker mode times 2 during the duration of it. So that one is going to... Lucio in general, I think, is going to be better for more aggressive, kind of like, if you will, ganking comps because of Sound Barrier.
I do want to point out another fact, going back to Crossfade, because this was something that the developers said to us when they were explaining the character, because we basically got to play him before he was released. I don't know if I made that clear or not. So they were being really like trying to explain every little facet of the character to it. They mentioned that in some situations, Crossfade is better to be set on speed to help you survive, which seems kind of counterintuitive. In some situations, your heal just does not heal fast enough, and you're going to be much better off hitting Crossfade and zipping out around a corner to basically throw off your enemy from attacking. And I really do think that's where a lot of his survivability comes from, honestly.
Yeah, and I think Lee Sparks was saying it, one of the game producers, that you got to think about this differently than a MOBA, even though there are things that are similar to this game to a MOBA, where in an FPS, if you're moving faster, that makes you more difficult to hit someone. I mean, damn near everything in an FPS is a skill shot, right? And if your target's moving faster, all skill shots become more difficult by the percentage that they're moving faster, right? So that element of it makes it even more interesting and more useful. And say you're able to predict the trajectory of a character who is getting move speed from Lucio just on regular Crossfade, and then they suddenly amp it up as a sniper character like Widowmaker or even Hanzo, who's kind of semi-sniper. That's going to make it that much more difficult to predict where someone's going to be. So that's going to be even more utility with the character. He's really well-rounded when you really think about it. He's kind of got a tool for everything.
I would definitely put him up in, like, if we were to make a tier list, I would definitely put him in the top tier, just because he can like meet any situation. But there were several instances where, again, I was on it was the same map. I was on the back line. It's that one with the moving platforms. I still don't remember the name of it. And Lucio would sneak up on me. I was playing Widowmaker at this time, who, you know, doesn't do the best damage up close. You really want to zoom in with that sniper rifle. He was coming up from the right of me, or to the left of me, and I would turn left, and Lucio would already be like wall riding away from me. He would hop over this catwalk and then amp it up and boost the other direction. And I'm here on Widowmaker I should have been walking around like Abathur with my hands in the air, because that's how effective I was at chasing this guy down. I could not keep up with him at all. The speed boost from amp it up can almost be disorienting. I remember there was a moment in particular where I was chasing you. You were playing Reaper, and you used your little Wraith Walk or whatever it's called to get away from me. And I had 2 players on my team right behind me, and I amped up speed, and we were chasing you into this doorway. And we all missed the doorway. Like we slapped our faces up against the wall because it was so disorienting. So you may not want to use it in tight quarters. It is a gigantic speed increase.
That being said, you know, there was a couple situations, and there's going to be a lot of situations, I think, for new players, where an enemy team is going to be setting up a primarily defensive comp to defend a point or to defend a payload, right? And they're going to have a Triburan set up there, they're going to have a Bastion set up, maybe a Widowmaker and a Hanzo, a couple tanks out front, and they're going to be like, how the hell are we going to get around these defenses and get in there fast enough to be able to make something happen? Well, the best solution to that is move speed. And Lucio's going to, I think, be a really nice defense breaker of a support. And, you know, you're not necessarily going to want to pick up a Mercy for that situation where you're going to maybe want to use her in the defensive scenario or a Symmetra in the defensive scenario. You're going to want to pick up Lucio so you can get in there quick, knock people back, be disruptive, and then take that objective yourself. And so I think he's going to be better on sort of offensive pushes rather than being a defender.
I would have to agree. Although he does get your defense characters back up to the objective to defend it faster, which there is something to be said about that. But I think that both of us have a pretty good impression of a hero.
Yep.
I think I'm safe in saying that. He was definitely the most fun I had with his support. Zenyatta was probably a close second, but I didn't play him much. But that is going to wrap up our video today, guys. These were our hands-on first impressions. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. So if you did, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe for new content. And we'll tell people where to find you, and then we're going to leave.
Okay, sounds good. You should subscribe to my YouTube channel because it's the second best one on YouTube behind MF Pallytime. YouTube.com/AWOLVS. There'll be a link below, and I'll probably holler at you guys in the comments. I make Heroes videos too, and videos about Blizzard games.
And you should subscribe to him because he's my boss, and obviously is holding my job ransom over my head and in blatant disrespect.
Yeah.
Showing it off on the internet in a video.
Yeah, this is how I handle my HR business.
God, some of you people need to calm down.
Chill out, y'all.